My fingers are getting fat. I got one stuck down here the other day.
Yeah, because everybody says we're going to go on until we die, you know, which we will, of course, but yeah, like everything, it's not a big deal. You make such a big deal of it, and like, it's just one of those little bits of dead driftwood lying on the beach. All it is, you know, it's what we do to sort of entertain ourselves and occupy ourselves, and in the big picture, it's a little bit like, you know, the rock in the stream that's slowly getting turned and then it's gone, you know. And all of this stuff is it'll all die one day. It can't last forever. It'll rot and fall apart, and yeah, just like me.
Hello!
So it's not super precious, you know what I mean? Every now and again you get free of that. You know, like when you're on a holiday or something, you might just have a moment. You know, like when everything sort of drops away and you're smelling the lupins and feeling the sunshine on your face and the sea's out there twinkling away. It's like, and then it's gone. And back comes some thought in your head, you know, about what you can do with it, or, oh my God, have I paid the phone bill, or whatever the hell it is, you know, or, you know, is that person all right? Are they feeling a bit unhappy with me, or whatever it is? Yeah. But every now and again we get those glimpses, eh? Yeah, so my name's Alan Wehipeihana. I've been a full-time artist in Paekakariki for over 20 years now. This is my studio. I've been up here about 7 years. Before that in a double garage, and before that in the basement of my home. The work is kind of I mean, it's influenced by all sorts of things. Sometimes it depends what I'm reading. Images might catch my eye, and I kind of bounce around a lot. It's very experimental. The latest thing is working with books, old books, cutting out their spines, putting them onto wooden mouldings, and making these tuku-tuku panels. Before that, it was making a bit of furniture. Been working with wood and panels, like old weatherboards, skirting boards, whatever came in the door. People kind of bring me stuff now when they see what I'm doing. Before that, I worked with stone for several years, and before that I was a postie with a lot of spare time. So I used to do a lot of writing, a lot of walking. I worked with stained glass for a while. And before that, I don't know, I just thought a lot, I think. Just looked around, you know. I never really knew what I was doing. I was just looking, and I'd get sort of captured by things. I remember once I was kind of a bit intrigued by foam and the little waves and ripples by the beach, and standing in the water, trying to figure out the patterns of the foam as it kind of got dragged back into the sea. Yeah, drove me mad really, because it never stays still, you know. So yeah, I've always kind of wanted to do something with the things that you see, you know, and the way you see things. So writing was quite good. It was good for me. I don't know if it was good for people reading it, you know, because it's kind of like having a big vomit really when you begin. But sometimes, you know, something happens and you write a little bit like it's not even you doing the writing. And that was always fun. In 1990, I think, or 92, I decided to have a really good go at at the art thing. Just previously, for 2 years, I'd been with Daryl, my friend, who's actually working with me at the moment, and we were carving stone together. And then we decided that maybe somebody might like to buy it, so we went round a few galleries in Wellington. Yeah, it was a pretty sobering experience. Like, you kind of highs and lows, you know. We'd go into Te Papa and the lady would put a whole lot off to one side, and we think, oh God, what's going on? And then she'd say, I'll take that lot. You know, we think, wow, you know, that was cool. It was kind of interesting and fun too. Yeah, we'd often finish the day with a few beers and sort of laugh about what had happened. But that was kind of like the first real returns I'd had for making things and doing things. And after doing that for a couple of years, I thought I'd have a go full time. And I'd seen a lot of people, friends of mine, and their parents, who've always wanted to do particular things, but they kept putting it off. And then they got too old, and they never got to do them. Yeah, I did go and talk to some people about it. Another friend of mine who's an artist. I said, you know, I'm thinking of going full time. What do you reckon? And he said, don't do it. He said, you'll never have any money. Well, that part was kind of true. But I did it anyway. Yeah. It was just one of those things, you know, you always want to try something, you always want to do something. And it was fun, sort of taking an idea from your head and an object that you've found, like a stone on the beach or a piece of wood that someone's given you. And you just kind of use your thinking and your hands and you make something. And if you're lucky, people want it. It was kind of like, whoa, you know, that was not quite like just doing an hour's work and getting paid for it. And in the beginning, it was, I didn't really think about it. It was just a process, and I just kept going on it and going on it, and it was quite successful. I got invited on a trip to Germany. Yeah, they loved it. They loved all the stuff, really. There was a group of us went. 7, I think there were. There was a weaver and a wood turner. We were working with stone. What else was there? There was furniture there, and yeah. And we were given a whole floor in this big department store in Munich. Every year they had this international festival where they would invite artists in from around the world. So there'd be some guy making leather handbags from Italy up, you know, on the elevator on the 2nd floor, and a lady from Czechoslovakia making jigsaw puzzles. And the Kiwis, we got all the bottom floor, and we were all in a group there. And it was, they really loved our stuff, you know. It was like, well, looking at all the stuff around, you know, there's a lot of chrome and everything was kind of fairly immaculate. And our stuff looked like someone had backed the truck in with a whole lot of dirt and stone and bones and dumped it in the middle of the floor. And they were, they loved it, yeah. You're kind of educating yourself. You know, you're finding out you can do things that you never thought you could do. In the beginning, I was really keen on some of the Maori ideas. You know, I didn't have a very wide understanding of any of it, but I could look at a book and it would be talking about the cosmology of the house, you know, and you know how things support things, and there's a spine, and you know, and a womb, and so the house was like a person. And then I started thinking, oh, you could do a portrait of a person like a house, you know. So they kind of shift you off sideways. You know, like in the early days, I'd be walking along the beach, and you'd see the beach going like this, you know, swinging in and out, and then you look at the hills and you see it sort of swinging in and out, and you think, God, there's some really basic patterns here that everything seems to follow, you know, from aging and weathering, and we're probably doing it ourselves. It's too big, I think, to connect dots, so I just get glimpses. I think these are unique events, constantly unique, you know, and
how many million years have these sorts of things been going on, and they're never really repeating themselves? It's just always different because it's always changing. And then, like even looking at what was on the beach, the shells that were moving, you know, they're kind of sort of dead animals, and the sand was like dead mountains in a way, you know, and everything was just constantly being changed and reborn in a way, and at the same time they're creating all of these other patterns that were affecting everything else and determining how things were going to, you know, happen in the future. So yeah, the odd mind-blowing moments like that. I can't remember what I did with that. I think I did those. I might look at them and think, what the hell is that? I think a lot of it just kind of creeps into your work. When you make something, people obviously see you, but you want them to somehow see a bit of this other stuff as well. So you don't want to just look at the work and think, oh, that's him. You want to see bits of yourself, I suppose, and bits of things that are around you. Yeah, so all these glimpses that you get, they're like just tiny pieces of this huge thing, you know. And so that's what I think happens when we make things. We make more tiny pieces of this huge thing, you know, and hopefully they reflect a bit of it. Yeah. Yep. Some of the ideas you get a bit carried away and you put in a huge amount of effort and they don't come to much. But yeah, it's always a process, you know, you got to be prepared to do that. A lot of it's just sort of having an eye for opportunities and things, you know, like I've got a few pieces here, going through Patea on a trip once, and the guy was pulling down a macrocarpa fence and it was all beautifully silvered and weathered and had all these diagonal marks from where, you know, boards have been across other boards. And yeah, art's a funny one. Art is kind of like a word that people are sort of attached to things. I just tend to think more of creativity, the creative spirit, and I actually think that everybody's got it. They don't think they have, half of them. They come up and they say, oh, you know, you've done this and you're saying, and I said, everybody's got this. And they said, no, I haven't got it. I said, yes, you have. I said, it's just like breathing. But you put it into lots of different things. We have this urge to create things, you know, and that's what we do. Colour, technique, a little bit of awe, you know, like, whoa, you know, how did you do that, you know? Thinking is one thing, you know, making stuff is another. Sometimes when I look at people's work, it's like, oh, you think too much, you know? Because if you think too much, of course, everything gets complex and confused. Yeah, the world is complex and it's simple at the same time, you know, it's all of those things, and you kind of want to see that reflected, but sometimes all you see is complexity and effort to put your finger on it, you know. Yeah, you don't want to see effort, you just have it after a while, your own thing, you know, the way you put things together, what's balanced, what's not balanced, where it's too heavy, you know, using darkness and light, using detailed areas with space. Sometimes I think about not doing this at all, which is not a bad thing to think, you know what I mean? Like you turn something into your life and spend all your time doing it, and maybe the challenge is actually not to do it, just to get a camper van and I might get bored though, that's the only problem. I know I once I went on a holiday with my partner and it was all right for about 3 days, and then I started taking photographs of road signs and starting to put together, you know, in Photoshop some writing and some images of road signs to kind of like a summary of the trip, you know. And then I came back here and next thing I'm right into road signs, you know. But yeah, I don't know if I can stop actually, but I think that'll be the challenge one day, to give it up.